If you're thinking about moving to the East Bay or maybe buying a home in the East Bay this year, do not start your home search until you understand these 10 most expensive repairs for homeowners. Just imagine you finally close on your dream home. You hand over the down payment and you get the keys. You walk through the front door for the very first time as the homeowner. And then 3 months later, your contractor hands you a bill for $100,000 to fix something that the inspection reports either completely missed, glossed over, or buried in a footnote on page 75 of the inspection report. Welcome to Sometimes Buying a Home in the East Bay. Today, I'm going to walk you through the top 10 most expensive repair landmines that are hiding in East Bay homes right now. Some of these you've heard of, some of them you probably have not. And by the time we count down to number 1, you're going to understand why your dream home in Danville, your Craftsman in Concord, or even your bungalow in Berkeley can quickly turn into a nightmare before your second summer of home ownership. And if you're buying a home that is at the very top of your budget, and let's be honest, in the East Bay, many buyers buy at the top of their budget, then you absolutely need to know about these 10 items before you buy so that you can be stress-free and simply enjoy your new home instead of freaking out about a 5 or even 6-figure repair bill that you didn't budget for. If we haven't met yet, I'm Jenn Collins. I help people buy and sell homes and figure out where exactly they want to live here in the Tri-Valley and throughout the East Bay. Most of the people we work with are either relocating, upsizing, downsizing, or just trying to make a smart move without regretting it later. And that's exactly what this channel is here for. And I'm here today to talk to you about these repairs because in the East Bay real estate market, what you don't know absolutely can hurt you and hurt your wallet. So let's dive in. All right, let's set the scene as we always do. If you are buying anywhere in the East Bay, you need to understand 3 things about this place that make it fundamentally different from wherever you're coming from. Number 1 is the geology. We're sitting on top of the Hayward Fault and the Calaveras Fault, 2 of the most active fault lines in North America. The USGS says there's a 72% chance of a magnitude 6.7 or greater earthquake hitting the Bay Area within the next 30 years. That is not a maybe, that is almost a certainty. In fact, San Ramon has had over 160 earthquakes over a 2.0 in the first 5 months of 2026 alone. And tens of thousands of East Bay homes were built long before current seismic codes even existed. Number 2 is the soil. Large parts of the East Bay sit on expansive clay soil. During the wet season, it swells. During the dry season, it shrinks. And that constant movement is brutal on foundations, retaining walls, and even drainage systems. And number 3, this is the Bay Area. Now, this is something that actually works in your favor as a buyer. In the Bay Area, sellers typically provide a disclosure package before you even write your offer. In that package, you'll usually find a home inspection, a pest inspection, a roof inspection, and a sewer lateral inspection, all paid for by the seller. So unlike in a lot of other states, you're not flying blind. You get to review those reports before you decide to write an offer. But, and this is a big but, just because the seller hands you a stack of inspections does not mean that you should blindly trust them. Those reports were ordered by the seller. The inspector works for the seller. And the things that aren't in those reports, those are the things that will keep you up at night and potentially cost you thousands of dollars. So let me show you exactly what to watch for, starting with number 10. Number 10 is termite damage. I know, termites don't sound that scary. You're picturing a little spot treatment, maybe spending a couple $1,000s, but in California and especially in the East Bay, termites can absolutely be a 5-figure problem, especially if they've been left alone long enough. We have 2 types of termites that will eat your home. Subterranean termites come up from the soil, and drywood termites fly in and set up colonies in your attic, your eaves, and your window frames, basically anywhere that there is exposed wood. And in our mild East Bay climate, both species are active nearly year-round. They don't really take the winter off. Now, in that seller disclosure package I just mentioned, you'll usually get a pest inspection. That will list Section 1 items, which are active infestations that may need immediate treatment, and Section 2 items, which are conditions that could potentially lead to future problems. Here's where people get burned. They look at the Section 1 total at the bottom of the report. Maybe it says $3,000 or $5,000, and they think, okay, that's not too bad. But what they don't realize is that the pest report only covers what the inspector could see. If there are areas behind drywall or if the crawl space was inaccessible, those areas are excluded from the inspection report. And when the hidden damage is structural, when wood beams have been hollowed out, or if subfloor framing crumbles at the touch, or when siding looks perfect from the outside but there's nothing behind it, you're looking at potentially tens of thousands of dollars to repair. And I've seen it go even higher on larger homes in Alamo and Diablo, where the entire substructure needed to be rebuilt. So, what can you do? You can get your own independent pest inspection from a company that works for you, not for the seller. The price will vary depending on the size of the home and could be up to $500 or $600 or even more on larger homes. And if there are areas that the inspector couldn't access, be sure to factor that into your offer or make sure that your inspector is able to access them. Number 9 is seismic retrofitting, and this one can scare you a little bit because it should. Just imagine you bought that beautiful mid-century ranch home in Walnut Creek or Lafayette with big expansive windows and huge open floor plan. And then one day the Hayward Fault does what the Hayward Fault has been promising to do for the last 150 years, and we have a major earthquake. And your house slides off of its foundation because nobody ever bolted it down. That is not dramatic. That is literally what happens to an unretrofitted home in an earthquake. The cripple walls, those short wood-framed walls between the concrete foundation and the first floor, they fold inward like a cardboard box, and the house drops. If your home was built before 1979, and a huge number of East Bay homes were, there's a very good chance that it was never bolted to the foundation, and those cripple walls have never been braced. Now for the good news. A standard retrofit can run somewhere between $5,000 and $9,000. California's earthquake brace and bolt program may give you up to $3,000 towards that cost, and most East Bay zip codes do qualify. And retrofitted homes tend to sell for about 17% more than unretrofitted homes, according to a peer-reviewed ASCE study. Plus, the California Earthquake Authority gives you up to 25% off your earthquake insurance premium. The bad news is that if your home has a soft story, meaning living space built over a garage, which is extremely common in many East Bay communities, that retrofit can jump significantly and be in the tens of thousands of dollars. And if you have a hillside home with a post and pier foundation, that retrofit can cost $100,000 or even more. Now, this is probably one of those items that won't be in the seller's disclosure package. It's rarely in a standard home inspection. So the best thing to do is to hire a structural engineer who can inspect the crawl space during your due diligence. That inspection will cost you about $500 to $1,000. Number 8, and this one catches out-of-state buyers completely off guard, is the private sewer lateral compliance requirement. If you're buying a home in parts of the East Bay serviced by EBMUD, the East Bay Municipal Utility District, then you need to know this. There are municipalities where EBMUD requires a sewer lateral compliance certificate at the time of sale, period. That means before the property can transfer to you, the seller has to prove that the sewer pipe running from the house to the city main is not leaking. Now you might think, great, that protects me as a buyer. And it does, sort of. Of course, there's a catch. Many East Bay homes were built before 1950, and many are still sitting on their original clay sewer pipes. Clay cracks, and tree roots invade, and joints separate. And when that sewer scope camera goes down the line and finds problems, which it frequently does, somebody has to pay for it. And in a lot of transactions, that somebody is you, the buyer, because the seller negotiates a credit instead of doing the work. And now you're dealing with a sewer lateral replacement in your first 60 days of home ownership. A full sewer lateral replacement in the Bay Area typically runs $8,000 to $18,000. If the line runs under the street and you need an encroachment permit or a street cut, you can easily push past $20,000. If the seller's disclosure package includes a sewer lateral inspection, always review it carefully. If there's no sewer lateral inspection, that might be something you want to consider ordering. That inspection will cost you about $200 to $350, and that camera will show you everything. And the good news is that the vendor will provide you with a cost to repair or even replace the sewer lateral line. Number 7 is electrical panels, and I call this one the insurance deal killer because this single item can literally blow up your entire transaction. Just imagine you've found the house, you've negotiated the price, you're in escrow, and you go to bind your homeowner's insurance, which your lender requires before they fund the loan, and the insurance company says no, they're not going to write the policy. Why? Because the house has a Federal Pacific electrical panel or a Zinsco panel. Both brands have well-documented histories of breakers failing to trip during an overload, and that's a fire risk, and many insurance carriers simply will not cover a home with one of these panels. No insurance means no loan means no house, and your purchase comes to a grinding halt after you've already spent money on inspections, appraisal, everything. Now, this one is in the category of should be in the home inspection, but you'd be surprised how often it's buried. The inspector might note Federal Pacific panel on page 32 in a sea of other items and just move on. You need to know what those words mean and what they're going to cost you. Replacing the panel, upgrading it to a modern 200 amp service, runs $2,500 to $5,000 or more. But if the home has aluminum wiring, which was common between 1965 and 1973, or knob and tube wiring in the attic, which you'll find in lots of homes throughout the East Bay, then you're looking at a partial or even a full rewire. And that can run you $10,000 to even $25,000 or more. So during your first walkthrough of any East Bay home, open the electrical panel in the garage. Look at the brand on the breakers. If you see Federal Pacific, Stablock, or Zinsco, flag it before you write your offer and give your insurance agent a call to see if they will cover the home. Number 6 is foundation problems. And here in the East Bay, this is where the geology that I talked about at the beginning of the video really starts to hit literally your home. Just imagine you move into your new home in San Ramon or Pleasanton. Everything looks great, and then your first rainy season hits. The clay soil around the foundation swells, and then in the summer, it dries out and contracts, and you start noticing things. Cracks appearing in the stucco that weren't there before, doors that used to close perfectly are now sticking in their frames, and the bathroom floor has a slope that you swear didn't exist when you first saw the home. That's expansive clay doing its thing, and it is relentless. For homes on flat lots, targeted repairs like crack sealing and drainage correction might run between $5,000 and $15,000. But when you need foundation piers driven down into stable soil, which is common in Danville and the San Ramon Valley, you're looking at $25,000 to $100,000 to repair. And then, of course, there are those hillside homes, Orinda, Lafayette, parts of Alamo and Walnut Creek, lots of areas in the Oakland Hills and Berkeley, all gorgeous communities with stunning views. Here's the tricky thing about foundations. The seller's home inspection might say, minor cracks observed, typical settling, and that might be true. Or it might be the tip of a $100,000 iceberg. The only way to know is to get a structural engineer, not a home inspector, a true structural engineer, into the crawl space. That full inspection can run you $500 to $1,500, but it can save you headaches, worry, and tens of thousands of dollars down the road. All right, let's take a quick pause from the doom and gloom because I want to talk to you about why I'm telling you all of this. I'm a realtor. I sell homes for a living. So why am I spending all this time scaring you talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars of repair bills? Because every single one of these issues is a negotiating lever, only if you know about it and only if your agent knows how to work with it. When you work with our team, we don't just open doors and write offers. We go through the seller's disclosure package line by line with you. We know what to look for in those inspection reports, and more importantly, we know what's missing from them. We bring in our own specialists, structural engineers, electricians, roofers, sewer lateral companies during your inspection period, and when problems surface, we negotiate credits, price reductions, or we counsel you when it may be best to just walk away. That's our job. That's why we love what we do, because we want you to love the home you live in. And that starts by making sure that you're protected from as many possible surprises as we can. If you want to talk about your situation, whether you're thinking of buying in 6 days or in 6 months, call or text me at the number below, or download our buyer guide in the QR code here. And of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, we'd love for you to join our community. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that you can stay informed about all things East Bay real estate. Okay, let's keep going. We're at number 5, and it's a fun one. Number 5 is swimming pools. And I know you don't want to hear this, especially if you're relocating from somewhere with really hot summers and you've got must-have pool at the top of your wish list. But just imagine you buy a gorgeous home in Alamo with a big backyard pool. The listing photos are incredible: blue sparkling water, a stone waterfall, and gorgeous mature landscaping. And then you get the pool company out for a routine service call, and they tell you that the plaster is shot, the equipment is 20 years old, the heater is rusting out, and the deck has settled so badly that it has now become a trip hazard. The total renovation estimate easily can be over $100,000, depending on what finishes you select and the size of your pool. That is not an exaggeration. That is a real number here on East Bay Homes. Pools in the East Bay, especially in Danville, Alamo, San Ramon, and Pleasanton, are often 20, 30, or even 40 years old. They have finite lifespans. Plaster lasts 10 to 15 years. Equipment lasts 8 to 12 years. Pool decks settle and crack on that expansive clay soil I keep talking about. And pool shell failures, structural cracks that require gunite reconstruction, can easily run $50,000 to $100,000. And there's one more thing. Because of California's Title 24 energy requirements, if you're replacing pool equipment today, you might be required to install a variable speed pump and heat pump heaters instead of a gas heater. They are more efficient long term, but the upfront costs are significantly higher than what the last owner likely paid. The seller's disclosure package almost never includes a dedicated pool inspection. General home inspectors are not pool specialists. If the house has a pool, you really need to have a certified pool inspector during your contingency period. That inspection could cost you $300 to $500, but it can save you from some really expensive surprises. Number 4 is retaining walls, and this one is sneaky because most buyers don't even think about retaining walls until one fails. If you're buying a home on any kind of a slope in Orinda, Lafayette, Moraga, parts of Alamo and Danville, lots of areas of the Oakland and Berkeley Hills, some areas of Walnut Creek, there's a good chance that that property relies on retaining walls to hold back the hillside. These walls are doing structural work. They are holding back thousands of pounds of earth. They are not just decorative. And when they fail, they don't fail quietly. The wall starts to lean, it cracks, soil starts washing down behind it. In bad cases, the wall collapses entirely, taking landscaping, drainage, the driveway, the yard, and sometimes, God forbid, parts of your home with it. Replacing a failing retaining wall in the East Bay with permits, engineered design, hillside access, and sometimes neighbor notification all starts around about $20,000 for a modest wall and easily can exceed $80,000 for a large structural wall. If the failure involves actual hillside movement and you need a geotechnical engineer, soil nailing, or tieback anchors, you can quickly exceed $100,000. And here's the part that nobody tells you. Retaining wall failure is almost never covered by homeowners insurance. It's classified as a maintenance issue, not a sudden event. So that repair comes straight out of your pocket. This is something that's rarely addressed in the seller's home inspection, beyond a sentence like, retaining walls present, appeared serviceable. That language means nothing. If the property has retaining walls taller than 3 or 4 feet, get your structural engineer to evaluate them. Same engineer, same visit, minimal extra cost, could easily save you up to 6 figures. Number 3 is roofs, and specifically I want to talk to you about the flat roof, because the flat roof can be the silent killer of East Bay real estate transactions. Mid-century modern and ranch-style homes from the 1950s through the 70s are a large part of housing stock throughout the entire East Bay. A lot of these homes have low slope or flat roofing sections covered in built-up tar or gravel or older single-ply membrane systems. And a lot of those systems are at the end of their useful life or even quite past it. Here's the problem with a flat roof. Water doesn't shed, it pools, it sits, and it finds every tiny crack, every failed seam, every deteriorated flashing, and it gets inside. Once water is inside, you're no longer just replacing the roof. You're replacing sheathing, maybe the framing, maybe you're dealing with mold remediation, and the cost for repairs escalates really fast. A flat roof replacement on a typical East Bay home runs $15,000 to $35,000. A full pitched re-roof tearing off and replacing can run $20,000 to $45,000. And if you're buying in newer Tri-Valley communities with concrete or tile roofs, like in Blackhawk, Tassajara Valley, or newer parts of San Ramon, tile roof work can run between $70,000 or more because of the weight of the roof, the underlayment, and the specialized labor. Now, the good thing about those roofs is that they do tend to last a lot longer than other types of roofing systems. The seller's disclosure package will usually include a roof inspection, or at least comments about the roof from the general inspection. But here's what I want you to look for. When was the roof last replaced? Not repaired, actually replaced. If nobody can tell you that, or the answer was more than 20 years ago, you might want to factor that into your offer price. All right, we're down to number 2, and this is different from the sewer lateral compliance I talked about at number 8. This is the full sewer line replacement, the main drain that runs from the inside your home, under your foundation or your yard, all the way out to the street. Just imagine you're 6 months into your new home. You're hosting Thanksgiving. The house is full of people, and sewage backs up through the floor drain in your downstairs bathroom. Happy holidays. Well, that's what happens when tree roots crush an old clay sewer pipe. And in the East Bay, with our mature oak trees, our massive liquid ambers, and our gorgeous heritage trees that give every neighborhood its beautiful character, those roots are actively seeking water, and they love your sewer line. The older the home, the more likely it's sitting on original clay or cast iron pipes. Clay cracks at the joints. Cast iron corrodes from the inside out after about 40 years. A spot repair on one section can run between $3,000 and $6,000. And a full replacement with an open trench from the house all the way to the street can run between $10,000 and $25,000. Of course, there are now trenchless pipe bursting options where they pull a new pipe through the old one without digging up your yard, and those can run between $8,000 and $18,000. But it's not always an option depending on the condition of the line and also the routing. And the worst case is when the failure is underneath your slab foundation. You're looking at jackhammering through the slab, replacing the pipe, and repouring. And that can be $15,000 to $35,000, plus include weeks of construction inside your home. Now, in many East Bay transactions, the seller disclosure package will include a sewer lateral inspection. Be sure to look at it. Actually watch the video. If there's root intrusion, offset joints, or a belly, which means a sag in the line, those can indicate problems. And if there's no sewer lateral inspection at all, you might want to consider ordering one. The cost can run about $200 to $300. And like I said before, the vendor should provide you with a bid to repair or replace the sewer line. And now the number one and most expensive and honestly most disruptive issue facing East Bay homebuyers right now is not physical repair at all. It is homeowners insurance. I know you're watching a video about home repairs and I'm putting insurance at number 1. But hear me out, because this is the one that is fundamentally changing the real estate equation in California right now. And it's the one that most agents aren't talking about because they either don't understand it or they're afraid that talking about it might scare their buyers away. I am not afraid to tell you. Here's what's been happening. After the devastating LA wildfires in January of 2025, where over 11,000 homes were destroyed and there were billions of dollars in claims, several major insurance carriers pulled out of California entirely. Others dramatically increased their premiums and severely tightened underwriting. State Farm got approval for a 17% rate increase, and then others followed. And homes in or near wildfire risk zones, which includes lots of parts of the East Bay and the East Bay Hills, what does all this mean for you? It means that before you fall in love with a stunning hillside home with panoramic views of Mount Diablo or the Bay, you need to answer these questions. Can I insure the home, and what will it cost me? I've seen buyers discover really deep into escrow that the only insurance option for their dream home is the California FAIR Plan, which is the state's insurer of last resort. The FAIR Plan premiums can run 2 to 3 times what a standard policy normally costs. On a home in the hills where normal insurance might run $3,000 or $4,000 a year, The California Fair Plan coverage could run between $8,000 and $12,000 a year. Now, here's the real kicker. That is just for your fire coverage. Home buyers who fall into the California Fair Plan coverage now have to have two policies: their Fair Plan for fire and what's called a difference in conditions, or DIC policy, that is your typical homeowner's insurance policy that includes things like theft, liability, and damage not relating to a fire. So not only is the Fair Plan more expensive, you still have to add the cost of the DIC homeowner's insurance on top of that. Those costs can vary dramatically depending on the size of your home, your coverage and liability limits, and of course, your deductibles. Here is what I tell every buyer. Get an insurance quote from your broker before you write an offer. Not once you're in escrow, not once you've spent money on inspections, before. Call 2 or 3 carriers, give them the address, and find out what coverage is available and at what cost. If the home is in a very high fire severity zone, and you can check this on the CAL FIRE Fire Hazard Severity Zone Map, which is publicly available, you need to know that on day one. Now, there is a silver lining. California passed several new laws in 2026. The Safe Homes Act provides grant funding for fire-resistant roofing and defensible space improvements. And the Insurance and Wildfire Safety Act requires insurers to offer discounts for homes that have completed fire hardening measures. These will help, but over time. And right now, today, insurance is the biggest wild card in a California real estate transaction. It can change what you can afford, it can change where you choose to buy, and it can determine whether you close at all. And that's why it is my number one. Okay, I just spent all this time giving you nightmares. I get it. But here's the thing. Every single one of these items is avoidable if you do the right due diligence before you close. And in California, you have a structural advantage. The seller might provide you with inspection reports up front in the disclosure package. But as I've been saying throughout this video, these reports are just a starting point, not the finish line. Here's my recommended inspection stack, the combination of inspections and reviews that every serious East Bay buyer should be doing during their contingency period on top of what the seller has already provided. Step 1, review every page of the seller's disclosure package before you write your offer. Don't just skim it, actually read it. Look for what's flagged and look for what's missing. Step 2, get your own general home inspection if you want a second set of eyes. It'll cost $400 to $600. Some buyers in the East Bay skip this because the seller's already provided one, but I don't recommend that. Your inspector works for you and is looking out for your best interests. Step 3, if there's no sewer lateral inspection in the seller's package, then go ahead and get one. That should be about $350. Definitely include it on any East Bay home that's more than 30 years old. Step 4, if the pest report in the seller's disclosure package notes inaccessible areas, or if you want to get your own opinion, get an independent pest inspection. That could be somewhere between $400 and $600. Step 5, if the general inspection flags foundation cracks, uneven floors, an outdated electrical panel, seismic concerns, or more, bring in the specialists. A structural engineer will cost about $500 to $1,500. A licensed electrician will be about $300 to $500. And these are the people that will give you the answers to the questions that you have. All in, you could be spending $1,000 or $2,000 on top of the reports that the seller already gave you. In my experience, the average buyer who follows this protocol can save $10,000 to $50,000 or even more through negotiated credits, price reductions, or just as importantly, walking away from a home that would have cost them 6 figures down the road. That is a great return on the investment that you've made on your inspections. $1,000 in inspections to avoid potentially a $100,000 mistake. The math is not that complicated. Let me be clear about something else. I am not trying to scare you out of buying in the East Bay. I love this place. I live here. I'm raising my family here. The communities, the school, the weather, the lifestyle, the access to everything that Bay Area has to offer. There's a reason that homes cost what they cost, and that's because it's an incredible place to live. But incredible doesn't mean easy, and expensive doesn't mean problem-free. The East Bay real estate market is actually really favorable for buyers in a lot of ways. Inventory is up right now, days on market have stretched, and sellers are more willing to negotiate than they have been in years. But that opportunity only works in your favor if you go in with your eyes wide open, your inspections done, and the right team guiding you through the process. Every single item on this list, every termite, every cracked foundation, every failing sewer line, every insurance nightmare is either avoidable or negotiable, but only if you know that it's there. That's what we do, and that's why we're here. So if you want someone in your corner who will tell you the truth, even when the truth is uncomfortable, then let's talk. Call or text me at the number below, book a strategy call with us, and let's talk about what you're looking for and how we can help protect you from these surprises. If this video was helpful, and I really hope it was, hit that thumbs up button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more buyers like you who need this information before they make the biggest financial decision of their lives. I'm Jen with the Jenn Collins Group, and we help people make smart, confident moves here in the East Bay, whether that's a month or a year from now. If you found this helpful, be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more tips about living in the East Bay. And be sure to grab our East Bay neighborhood guide in the description below, which will break down the most popular neighborhoods and why people love them. If you're planning to buy in the East Bay, I'd love to guide you through the process. Call or text me at the number below to schedule a strategy session with me. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.